Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be solving LeetCode 1417, reformat the string. So we're given an alphanumeric string called S, where alphanumeric is just a string consisting of lowercase English letters and digits. And they want us to find a permutation of the string where no letter is followed by another letter and no digit is followed by another digit. They want us to return the reformatted string or an empty string if it's impossible to reformat the string. So we're given A0, B1, C2. That should be fine, so we could have just returned that. LeetCode, no numbers, so we return empty string. All numbers, so we just return an empty string. Okay, so first let's make two sets, or two lists. We'll say A and B are both equal to the empty lists. What is going to go inside these lists? We are going to put the alphabetical characters inside of A. So we'll say character for character in S if that character is in the string.ASCII lowercase characters. So what can we do to get O1 access time? We can create a set. Say set A is going to be equal to the set of string.ASCII lowercase, and then we just replace this with set A, and we'll do the same thing for B but for the numbers. So character for character in S if character in 0, 1, 2, 3, 0 through 9, right? But again, we need O1 access time to make things a bit faster. So we'll say set, and we can say 0, 1. And then we can just say set B here. Okay, what is this going to give us? Let's print this out. Print A, new line, print B. Okay, so we can see that we have now separated the numbers and the letters inside of S. So now what? Well, there's a couple things we need to check. We need to check, can we reformat this string? And we will be able to determine that based on how long each list is. So if the lists are equal to each other, if the lengths are equal to each other, then we know we can reformat the string because we can alternate characters and numbers. If one of the lists differs in length by 1, we can still reformat that. So let's say we have A, B, and C and A, and 0 and 1 inside of B. So what happens if we take from A first, right? We'll take A and then 0 from B, and then we go back to A, and then back to B, and then back to A, right? So we can still get a permutation of our output. But what would happen if we took from B first? If we took from B first, we'd get 0, A, 1, B. Notice how we still have C left. So this gives us a false output. We don't want this. So if the lengths differ by 1, that is going to determine which list we start taking from. If our lists are greater in difference than 1, right? So if we have a difference by 2, we know we can't reformat the string at all. So just to write this out so you can see it, A0, 1, B. Notice how we still have C and D left, right? We can't we can't do that. So let's, well, I guess you get the gist. I don't have to go through taking from B in this case. Okay, so how are we gonna go about checking? Because we should check the lengths first. So we'll say if the length of A minus the length of B is greater than 1, right? Meaning we run into, something like this. Well, we already know that they don't want us to return anything, so we can return an empty string. However, what happens if we have no characters in A, right, and we only have the characters in B? Then we're taking 0 minus 2 and we get a negative number. Well, in that case, we're going to have to take the absolute value. So we'll do that, and that'll give us those, or that'll handle those cases for us. Okay, so now let's start taking from our lists. We know we're going to have an output list. We'll call it res. So I'll write that up there. Okay, so let's check if the length of A is greater than the length of B first. So if it is, what are we going to do? Well, we know we're going to take from A first before we take from B, and we're just going to append those elements into our resulting array. So we'll run a while loop, and we'll say while there are still characters in A and there are still characters in B, we're just going to append to our res the character from A first, and we'll take from the end. We'll just do a dot pop to have O of 1 access time, and then we'll say res dot append B dot pop. Okay, now let's check the case for if the length of B is greater than the length of A. All right, and it's just going to be this, but taking from B first. So if B is greater than A, we take from B before A. Okay, so that handles the cases where the length of A and the length of B are greater than one another. But what happens if we have, lists that are of the same length? In order to handle that case, we can just say greater than or equal to here. Okay, so what happens, let's write this example out again. A, B, C, 0, and 1. Right, so we know we're obviously going to take from the first list. We'll say A, 0, B, 1. This is where we exit this while loop, right? Because this while loop is now false, right? We've taken A, 0, B, and 1. Now there are no elements left in our second list, so this exits here. But we still have a character left in A, so what do we have to do? Well, we have to check at the end of our while loop. We have to check if there are still elements residing in the arrays. So we can do that by saying if A is still truthy, meaning if there are still elements inside of A, we can just take those elements and add them into our resulting array. And then we can do the same thing for B to check if there are still elements there. We'll get rid of this, and let's print out our res now so you can see if this works. Wrong, so yep, we didn't return the string, but look, we have a perfect permutation, exactly what we're looking for. C, 2, B, 1, A, and 0. So all we have to do is return a string join of our resulting array. And that should give us our answer. Yep, we pass all 3 test cases. We'll submit, and we see that we do pass. So let's go back and check out the time and space complexities. So the time complexity for this problem is going to be, this is going to be O of n. This is going to be O of n as well. Right, we're running a for loop to grab all the characters, put them in a new list. Let's see here. This block is going to run O of n, and this block is going to run O of n. Right, we have to run the loop while there are still elements in A and B. We don't know how many elements there are. So our time complexity for the whole problem will be O(n). Space complexity is going to be a bit worse. We are going to have, let's see here. Yeah, this can be simplified to, well, we'll say it's O of k, where k is the length of our the lowercase alphabetical characters, right? 26, and we know this is always going to be 26, so this can simplify down to O of 1. The same thing can be said about set B here. K is going to be the numbers 0 to 9. It's always going to be that, so it can be simplified down to O of 1. Our resulting array, though, this, or as well as A and B, it's going to be the length of, or our res is going to be the length of our string. So we can say, what can we say here? We can say O of s dot length. For A and B, it's going to be the number of alphabetical characters in S and the number of alphabetical characters, and the number of numerical characters for B. Let's see here. Are we doing anything else? No. So our space complexity is gonna simplify down to O of our the length of our resulting array plus whatever the length of A and B is. And that'll do it for LeetCode 1417, reformat the string.